The moment I saw all three of my children sitting at that restaurant table with those fake smiles, I knew something was wrong. Dead wrong. My hand froze on the door handle of Ruby's Soul Kitchen, that familiar tingle running down my spine, the same one that warned me 40 years ago when their daddy was lying about working late. Tasha was checking her phone every 2 seconds. Damon kept rubbing his hands together like he does when he's nervous. And Kendra? Lord, that child had papers spread across the table trying to hide them under her purse. "Mama, there you are!" Tasha jumped up, her voice too high, too sweet. In my 72 years on this earth, my middle child had never been that happy to see me. "We ordered your favorite, the catfish special with extra hot sauce, just how you like it." That's when I knew for sure. These children of mine were up to something. Before we continue, please comment below, as I'd love to hear your thoughts, and subscribe to the channel to help us hit that big 1,000 subscriber milestone. See, 3 weeks ago was when all this started. I'd been living in my house on Magnolia Street for 38 years, raised all three of them in that house, buried their father from that house, built my whole life in those 4 walls. The mortgage was paid off, the garden was blooming with tomatoes and collard greens, and I had my routine. Tuesday Bible study with Sister Yvonne, Thursday meals at the senior center, Sunday service at Greater Hope Baptist, where I'd been singing in the choir since 1985. But then Tasha started calling every day. Now, don't get me wrong, I love my children. But Tasha calling daily? That woman barely remembered my birthday most years. Suddenly, she was all concerned about my health, my finances, whether I was taking my medicine. "Mama, you sure you're okay living alone? That's a big house for one person." Then Damon started dropping by unannounced. My son, who lived 40 minutes away and hadn't visited in 6 months, was suddenly at my door every weekend. "Just checking on you, Mama. You know, making sure everything's good." He'd walk through my house like he was inspecting it, opening closets, checking the basement, asking about the roof. Kendra was the worst. My baby girl, the one with the fancy law degree, started sending me emails about estate planning and asset protection. She'd forward articles about elder fraud, about seniors losing their homes, about the importance of having someone manage your affairs. "Mama, at your age, you need to be thinking about these things." At my age? I might be 72, but my mind is sharp as a tack. I still balance my checkbook to the penny. I still remember every birthday, every anniversary, every single time one of them disappointed me or made me proud. And I definitely remembered that Kendra's husband, that no-good Terrence, had just lost his job 3 months ago. I remembered that Tasha was behind on her car payments, again. I remembered that Damon's business was failing and he'd been asking his siblings for loans. So when they invited me to lunch, just to catch up, every alarm in my body went off. I walked to that table slowly, my good purse clutched tight, watching them watch me. The restaurant was busy for a Thursday afternoon. Ruby herself waved from behind the counter. We'd known each other since our kids were in elementary school together. The smell of cornbread and fried chicken filled the air, but my stomach was in knots. "Hey, Mama!" Damon stood to pull out my chair. Another red flag. That boy hadn't pulled out my chair since his wedding day. I sat down carefully, keeping my purse in my lap. "Well, isn't this nice? All 3 of my busy children free on the same Thursday afternoon. Must be a miracle." They exchanged looks. Quick ones, but I caught them. "We just wanted to spend time with you," Kendra said, sliding those papers further under her purse. But I could see the letterhead peeking out. Jackson and Associates. I knew that law firm. They specialized in elder law and conservatorships. "Is that so?" I picked up the glass of sweet tea they'd ordered for me but didn't drink. "And it has nothing to do with those papers you're trying to hide?" The table went silent. Tasha's phone buzzed and she grabbed it like a lifeline. Damon cleared his throat. Kendra's lawyer face slipped into place, that cold professional mask she wore when she was about to argue a case. "Mama, we're concerned about you," Kendra started, pulling the papers out. You're 72 years old, living alone in a house that's too big for you. The house I own free and clear, I interrupted. Yes, but it needs repairs. The foundation, the roof, both of which were inspected last year and are perfectly fine. I have the reports. Damon leaned forward. Mama, we just want what's best for you. We think it might be time to consider other arrangements. Other arrangements. I let those words hang in the air like smoke from burnt cornbread. You mean selling my house? The market is really good right now, Tasha jumped in, finally looking up from her phone. You could get maybe $400,000 for it. That would set you up nice in a senior living community. A nursing home, you mean? No, Mama, not a nursing home. Kendra shuffled through her papers. Forest Grove Senior Living. It's beautiful. They have activities, medical staff on site, 3 meals a day, and costs $6,000 a month, I finished. I looked it up when you left that brochure in my mailbox last week. Thought I wouldn't notice it mixed in with the grocery ads. They all looked at each other again. Their food arrived. Plates of fried chicken, mac and cheese, greens, but nobody touched it. My catfish sat in front of me getting cold. Mama, Kendra said slowly, like she was talking to a child, we've already discussed this with a lawyer. Given your age and recent confusion— What confusion? My voice came out sharper than I intended. A few people at nearby tables glanced over. You forgot Damon's birthday, Tasha said. I didn't forget it. I chose not to celebrate it since he didn't bother coming to mine. You got lost coming home from church, Damon added. I took a different route to avoid construction. Sister Yvonne was with me the whole time. You sent money to that charity town. My money to send where I please, Kendra Marie. The papers came out fully then. Kendra spread them across the table, over the untouched food. Mama, we've filed for conservatorship. It's for your own good. The hearing is next month, but if you sign these papers now, we can avoid all that. You'll sign the house over to us. We'll manage it for you. Your accounts will be transferred to our oversight. You'll move to Forest Grove, where you'll be safe and cared for. I looked at my 3 children. The babies I'd carried, nursed through fevers, taught to ride bikes, sent to college working 2 jobs to pay for it. They sat there looking at me like I was already gone, like I was just an obstacle between them and my house. And what happens to the money from the house sale? I asked quietly. It goes toward your care, Kendra said too quickly. All $400,000? When Forest Grove costs $72,000 a year, what happens to the rest? Silence. We'd manage it, Damon finally said. Make sure it's there for you. Manage it. I nodded slowly. Like you managed your business? Like Tasha manages her bills? Like Kendra's husband manages his career? Tasha's face flushed. That's not fair, Mama. Fair? I laughed, but there was no humor in it. You want to talk about fair? How about the fact that I know exactly what you're doing? You need money. All of you. And you figured out that I'm worth more than you thought. The house, my savings, my retirement account, Charles's life insurance that I never touched. Altogether, it's about $700,000. Divide that 3 ways after you stick me in a home, and that's a nice payday. That's not— Damon started. I also know, I continued, my voice steady as Sunday sermon, that you've been planning this for months. Kendra, you've been documenting every little thing, haven't you? Building a case. Every time I misplace my reading glasses, every time I call you by your sister's name when I'm tired, every normal thing that happens when someone gets older. You've been writing it all down. Kendra's face was stone, but her hands trembled slightly as she gathered the papers. And I know you've already been to see Judge Morrison. Played golf with him last month, didn't you, Damon? At that fancy country club you can't afford the membership to anymore? Damon's mouth fell open. How did you— Because I'm not stupid, son. I'm old, not dead. And I've got friends all over this city who tell me things, like how you've been asking around about developers who might want my land for condos, like how Tasha's been pricing out furniture in my house, telling people she's inheriting some antiques soon, like how Kendra's been real friendly with the staff at Forest Grove, promising them a bonus for fast-tracking my application. The silence at our table was thick enough to cut with a knife. Around us, the restaurant hummed with normal life, people laughing, forks clinking, Ruby calling out orders. But at our table, my children looked like I'd slapped them. "You don't understand," Kendra said, her lawyer voice cracking. "We're trying to help you." "Help yourselves to my life's work, you mean?" I stood up slowly, my knees protesting but my spine straight. I picked up my purse and looked at my 3 children one last time. "I'm going to give you one chance," I said. "One chance to drop this conservatorship nonsense and remember who raised you better than this. Because if you don't, if you actually take me to court trying to steal what I worked my whole life for, you're going to learn something about your mama you never knew." "What's that supposed to mean?" Tasha demanded. I smiled then. A real smile. The kind I hadn't given them in months. "It means I've been preparing for this day since the moment Kendra left that first brochure. And baby, you might have gotten your law degree from Howard, but I got my education from life, and I've got something you don't even know exists." "You're bluffing," Kendra said, but uncertainty flickered in her eyes. "Am I? Take me to court and find out. But I'll tell you this, by the time I'm done, everyone in this city, everyone at your firms, everyone at Greater Hope Baptist, everyone who's ever known our family will know exactly what kind of children I raised. And that house you want so bad? You'll be lucky if you ever step foot in it again." I turned to leave, then stopped. "Oh, and that catfish special you ordered? I'm allergic to catfish, have been for 20 years. If you paid any attention to your mama beyond what you could get from her, you'd know that." I walked out of Ruby's Soul Kitchen with my head high, but my heart was breaking into a million pieces. Behind me, I heard Tasha's voice rising, Damon trying to calm her, Kendra's sharp lawyer tone cutting through. But I didn't look back. Because what they didn't know, what I'd been hiding for 3 months since I first suspected their plan, was that I'd already made my move. And tomorrow morning they were going to wake up to a surprise that would change everything. My phone buzzed as I got to my car, a text from my lawyer. Not some downtown firm, but Jerome Williams, who'd grown up 3 houses down from me and now ran the most successful Black-owned practice in the state. "Everything's ready, Ms. Gladys. Papers filed this morning. They won't know what hit them." I sat in my car for a moment, looking at Ruby's through the window. My 3 children were arguing now, fingers pointing, voices raised. Other diners were starting to stare. Good. Let them see who they really were. Because tomorrow, the whole city would know the truth, and my children would learn that their mama might be old, but she wasn't anybody's fool. The next morning at 7 a.m. sharp, the doorbell rang. Then it rang again. And again. By the 4th ring, I knew it wasn't the newspaper boy. I pulled my robe tight and walked downstairs, taking my sweet time. Through the peephole, I saw all 3 of them standing on my porch. Tasha was holding papers. Damon had his phone out recording, and Kendra, Lord have mercy, Kendra had brought Terrence and 2 men I didn't recognize. They looked like movers. I opened the door but kept the chain on. "It's 7 in the morning." "Mama, open the door," Kendra demanded. "We need to talk." "We talked yesterday." "You've lost your mind," Tasha shouted. "You put a lien on our houses? All of them?" I smiled. So Jerome had worked fast. "Not a lien, baby. A lawsuit. For fraud, emotional distress, and conspiracy to commit elder abuse. My lawyer says it's worth about $2 million in damages. Course, we could settle out of court if you'd like." "You can't sue us. We're your children." Damon's voice cracked like he was 13 again. "Actually, I can. Jerome Williams. You remember him, don't you? He used to tutor you in math, Damon, when you were failing 10th grade. Well, he's my lawyer now. Has been for 3 months, ever since I figured out what you were planning." "This is insane," Kendra said, pushing past Terrence. "Mama, this just proves you're not thinking clearly. What judge is going to believe you over us?" "Judge Sheila Washington might." I watched Kendra's face go pale. "You didn't know she was assigned to our case, did you? Your little golf buddy Judge Morrison had to recuse himself. Seems someone sent the Judicial Review Board photos of him and Damon at that country club, discussing my case before it was even filed. That's called improper ex parte communication, counselor." "I believe you could be disbarred for that." The two strange men started backing toward their truck. They knew trouble when they saw it. Before we continue, please drop a comment if you've ever experienced something like this. We'd love to hear your story, and subscribe to the channel to help us grow. "Mama, please." Tasha's voice changed, got soft and pleading. "We're family. We can work this out." "Family?" I laughed. "Family doesn't try to steal your house. Family doesn't document your every stumble to use against you in court. Family doesn't bring movers to your door at 7 in the morning." That's when Sister Yvonne's car pulled up. Then Brother Raymond's. Then Deacon Harris's truck. Within 5 minutes, 8 cars were parked in front of my house, and half the Greater Hope Baptist Church senior choir was standing on my lawn. "Everything all right, Gladys?" Sister Yvonne called out. She had her phone up, recording everything. "We got your text." "What text?" Kendra spun around, watching as more neighbors came out of their houses. Mrs. Chen from next door. The Jackson family from across the street. That nice young couple with the baby from 2 houses down. "The one I sent at 6:45 this morning," I said, loud enough for everyone to hear. "Telling folks that my children were coming to try to force me out of my home. Figured I should have witnesses." "This is a private family matter," Damon shouted. "Nothing private about public court filings," Jerome Williams said, walking up my driveway. 6 feet tall, silver at his temples, wearing a suit that cost more than Tasha's car. "Morning, Ms. Gladys. I see the defendants have arrived." "Defendants?" Terrence finally spoke up. "We're not." "Actually, you are." Jerome pulled out his own stack of papers. "Terrence Walker, you're named in the suit too. We have evidence you helped forge Ms. Gladys's signature on preliminary paperwork for Forest Grove Senior Living. That's fraud, brother. And identity theft." Terrence took 3 steps back. "I didn't." Kendra said her mother agreed. "Shut up," Kendra hissed. "Additionally," Jerome continued, "we've frozen the process on your conservatorship filing. Turns out you failed to properly notify Ms. Gladys of the proceedings, which is required by law. You also failed to disclose that you all have significant financial problems that create a conflict of interest. Tasha Mitchell, you're currently facing bankruptcy. Damon Mitchell, your business owes $90,000 in back taxes. And Kendra Walker, your husband's gambling debts to some very unhappy people total $43,000. The street went silent. Even the birds seemed to stop singing. "How do you know about—" Terrence started, but Kendra elbowed him hard. "Discovery is a beautiful thing," Jerome said, "especially when my investigator is very, very good at his job." I stepped out onto my porch fully then, letting the chain fall away. "You want to know what hurts the most? It's not that you wanted my money. It's that you thought I was weak. You thought because I'm old, because I live alone, because I sing in the church choir and grow tomatoes, that I was some feeble-minded old woman you could manipulate." "We never said feeble-minded," Tasha protested. "No." "Then what's this?" I pulled out my phone and hit play on a recording. Tasha's voice filled the morning air. "She's losing it, Damon. Yesterday she called me by Aunt Ruth's name. Ruth's been dead for 5 years. We need to move fast before she gives all her money to some church or charity. That house is our inheritance. We deserve it after putting up with her all these years." Tasha's face crumpled. "You recorded me?" "No, baby. The young man at the Verizon store did when you were talking on speakerphone while he fixed your screen last month. Jamal Robinson. Lovely young man. goes to greater hope, sings tenor. Jamal waved from Sister Yvonne's car. You set us up, Damon said slowly, realization dawning on his face. This whole thing, you've been setting us up. No, son. You set yourselves up the minute you decided to conspire against your own mother. I just made sure to document it. Every meeting you had at that coffee shop on 3rd Street, they have security cameras. Every email you sent, subpoenas are wonderful things. Every lie you told about my mental state. I had Dr. Erica Lawson do a full cognitive evaluation, scored in the 98th percentile for my age group. Kendra was typing furiously on her phone. This is illegal, recording without consent. Georgia's a one-party consent state, counselor, Jerome said smoothly. As long as one person in the conversation knows it's being recorded, it's legal. Didn't they teach you that at Howard? The movers had already driven away. Terrence was edging toward their car. The church folks and neighbors had formed a protective semicircle around my property, phones out, recording everything. You can't do this, Kendra said, but her voice had lost its edge. We're your children. Yes, you are. Which is why I'm giving you one last chance to walk away. Drop the conservatorship, stop trying to take my home, and get some help for your problems, real help, not my money. Do that, and I'll drop the lawsuit. And if we don't? Damon asked. Then everyone will know the truth. The news stations Jerome's friend works for will love this story. Local children try to force mother from home. Your employers will know. Your clients will know. Your children. My grandbabies who you haven't let me see in months. They'll know what their parents tried to do to their grandmother. You wouldn't, Tasha gasped. Try me. That's when little Destiny's voice cut through everything. Grandma! My heart stopped. Tasha's 10-year-old daughter broke free from her mother's car where she'd been waiting and ran straight to me. I caught her in my arms, holding her tight. Mama said you were sick, Destiny whispered. Said your brain wasn't working right and we couldn't visit because it would confuse you. Tears burned my eyes. My brain works just fine, baby. I've missed you so much. Destiny, get back here, Tasha shouted. But Destiny clung tighter. Grandma, Mama said we're going to live in your house. She said you were going somewhere nice with doctors and we could have your garden for a swimming pool. The crowd gasped. Several people started talking at once. Sister Yvonne's voice rose above the rest. Lord have mercy. Planning to put in a pool while their mama's still living. That's enough. Kendra stepped forward. Mama, we need to talk, privately, without all this circus. The circus you created when you brought movers to my home? I stood up, Destiny's hand in mine. No, everything's going to be public from now on. That's what you wanted, isn't it? A public court hearing to declare me incompetent? A news van pulled up, then another. Jerome smiled. Right on time. You called the news? Damon's voice went up an octave. I didn't have to. Turns out, when a prominent lawyer files a $2 million elder abuse lawsuit against 3 adult children trying to steal their mother's home, people pay attention. Kendra grabbed Terrence's arm. We're leaving. Good idea, Jerome said. But before you go, you should know that Ms. Gladys has already taken steps to protect her assets. The house is now in an irrevocable trust. Her accounts have been moved to a financial institution where none of you have any connections, and she's updated her will. Updated her will? Tasha's voice was small. I squeezed Destiny's hand, then let her go back to her mother. Everything I have will go to my grandchildren when I pass, in trust, managed by Jerome's firm for their education and future, but only if their parents drop this conservatorship nonsense and agree to family counseling. You're cutting us out? Damon asked, incredulous. I'm giving you a choice. Your children's future or your greed. What's it going to be? The cameras were rolling now. The reporter from Channel 5 was walking up the driveway. My children stood there, frozen, finally understanding that their plan hadn't just failed, it had backfired spectacularly. "You did this to yourself, Mama," Kendra said coldly. "When you die alone in this house, remember that you chose this." "I won't be alone," I said, looking at my neighbors, my church family, everyone who'd shown up to support me. "I have real family, people who love me for who I am, not what I have." They left then. Tasha dragged Destiny to the car, my grandbaby crying and reaching for me. Damon slammed his door so hard, the window rattled. Kendra and Terrence peeled out, leaving tire marks on the street. But as the news crew set up for interviews, as Sister Yvonne hugged me tight, as Jerome explained to everyone what would happen next, I saw something that made my blood run cold. Kendra's car had stopped at the corner. She was on her phone, and the look on her face wasn't defeat. It was determination. The same look she'd had when she studied for the bar exam. The same look that said this wasn't over. Jerome saw it too. "They're not going to give up easy, Ms. Gladys." "I know," I said, watching my daughter drive away. "But neither am I." What I didn't know was that Kendra had one more card to play, one that would shake the very foundation of everything I thought I knew about my family. And it all started with a phone call she was making to someone I hadn't heard from in 30 years, someone who should have stayed buried in the past. 2 weeks passed before I found out who Kendra had called. 2 weeks of silence from my children, of news stories running every night, of strangers stopping me at the grocery store to share their own stories of family betrayal. Then, on a humid Tuesday morning, Jerome called. "Miss Gladys, you need to come to my office, now." "What's wrong?" "They've filed a counter-motion, and there's someone here you need to see." My hands shook as I drove downtown. Jerome's office was in the restored Freeman Building, 5 floors of Black excellence housing law firms, doctors, accountants, all of us who'd made it out of the old neighborhood but never forgot where we came from. But when I walked into his conference room and saw who was sitting there, my knees nearly gave out. Charles Jr., my firstborn. The son I hadn't seen in 30 years. The one who'd disappeared with $20,000 from his father's business and left nothing but a note saying he was never coming back. "Hello, Mama," he said, and his voice was exactly like his father's. Same deep tone that used to make my heart flutter, now making it race with anger. "You're supposed to be dead," I said flatly. "That's what you told everyone. But I've been in Atlanta this whole time. Kendra found me." Jerome guided me to a chair. "Ms. Gladys, they're claiming Charles Jr. has power of attorney from 1994. "That's impossible. He wasn't even here in 1994. Charles Jr. pulled out a yellowed document. "Actually, I was. For one day. Remember? Daddy's funeral." The room spun. Charles Sr.'s funeral. The day we buried my husband, I was so grief-stricken I could barely stand. And Charles Jr. had shown up, after 2 years of no contact, acting like the grieving son. He'd handled the paperwork, the insurance, everything, while I sat in a fog of pain. "You had me sign papers," I whispered. "You said it was for the funeral expenses. One of them was power of attorney, in case something happened to you so I could take care of the other kids. You disappeared the next day. You took the money and ran." "But the paperwork's still valid," Kendra said, walking in with her laptop. "I've had it authenticated. Charles Jr. is your legal power of attorney, and he's agreed that you need assistance." "For how much?" I asked Charles Jr. directly. "How much did they promise you?" He couldn't meet my eyes. "It's not about money. It's always been about money with you, just like your father." "Don't talk about Daddy," Charles Jr. snapped. "You drove him to his grave." "Your father drove himself to his grave with whiskey and other women. But you wouldn't know that because you were too busy running the streets to see your mother crying every night." Jerome cleared his throat. "The document appears genuine, but there's a problem with their claim." "What problem?" Kendra demanded. "Charles Jr., have you filed taxes in the last 30 years? Silence. "Because," Jerome continued, If you haven't, then you've been legally dead for 7 years according to Georgia law. Missing persons presumed dead after 7 years of no contact, no tax filings, no official existence. Ms. Gladys filed the declaration herself in 2001. "He's sitting right here," Kendra shouted. "He's clearly not dead." "Legally, he is. Unless he wants to explain to the IRS where he's been for 30 years and how he's been earning money without paying taxes." Charles Jr. shifted uncomfortably. "I've been working off the books." "Doing what?" I asked, though I already knew. The expensive watch, the nervous twitch, the way he kept checking his phone. My son was still in the game, just older now. Before we continue, quick question. What would you do in this situation? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories like this. "That's not relevant," Kendra said quickly. "It is if he wants to claim legal standing," Jerome said. "And there's something else. Ms. Gladys, did you ever revoke that power of attorney?" I thought hard, searching through decades of memories. Then it hit me. 1995. After Charles Jr. had been gone a year, my sister Ruth took me to a lawyer. We filed paperwork declaring him missing and revoking any legal documents. "You're lying," Charles Jr. said. "Am I?" I pulled out my phone and called someone I hadn't spoken to in years. "Josephine? It's Gladys Mitchell." "Yes, girl. It's been too long. Listen, you still work at the courthouse? I need a favor." 20 minutes later, Josephine walked into Jerome's office with a manila folder. "Here it is. Revocation of power of attorney, filed March 15, 1995. Notarized and everything." Kendra's face fell. Charles Jr. stood up, angry. "This is bull." "This is justice," I interrupted. "You walked away from this family 30 years ago. You don't get to walk back in now just because there's money involved." "You turned them against me," he pointed at his siblings. "Told them I was dead." "You were dead to us," Damon said quietly. Everyone turned to look at him. "You left when I was 12. Tasha was 10. We needed our big brother and you just vanished. Mama held this family together while you were gone." "Don't defend her now," Kendra hissed. "We need him." "No, we don't." Tasha's voice was small but firm. "Ken, this is wrong. All of it. We're trying to take Mama's house. We're fighting her in court. And now we dragged Charles back into this? The brother who abandoned us?" "We need the money," Kendra exploded. "All of us. You're about to lose your apartment, Tasha. Damon's about to lose everything. And Terrence—" She stopped herself. "Terrence what?" I asked. Charles Jr. laughed bitterly. "Her husband owes money to some very bad people. Same people I work for. That's how she found me. She was trying to negotiate his debt and found out I was alive." The room went silent. Jerome was typing notes rapidly. Josephine stood by the door, taking it all in, and I knew by evening everyone at Greater Hope would know every detail. "So this was never about taking care of me," I said slowly. "This was about saving yourselves. And you were willing to destroy me to do it." "You have everything!" Kendra shouted. "That house, the insurance money, savings. You're sitting on a fortune while your children struggle. My children who never call except when they need something? Who haven't invited me to Sunday dinner in 2 years? Who told my grandbabies I was losing my mind?" I stood up, my voice growing stronger. "You want to know why I have money? Because I worked 2 jobs for 30 years. Because I saved every penny. Because I didn't spend it on fancy cars and gambling debts and get-rich-quick schemes." "Mama," Tasha started. "No, I'm done." "Jerome, what happens next?" "The conservatorship hearing is tomorrow. With Charles Jr.'s claim invalidated and the revocation documented, they have no case. Judge Washington will throw it out. Then we proceed with our lawsuit." "Unless," I said, turning to my children, "you drop everything right now. Sign papers saying you'll never pursue this again. Agree to family counseling. And Charles Jr. goes back to wherever he's been hiding." I'm not going anywhere, Charles Jr. said. I have rights. You have nothing, Jerome corrected. You're legally dead, remember? Unless you want to resurrect yourself and deal with 30 years of back taxes, fraud charges, and whatever illegal activities you've been involved in. Charles Jr. looked at Kendra, who was staring at her laptop screen in defeat. The testimony she'd prepared, the case she'd built, all of it was falling apart. This isn't over, Charles Jr. said, heading for the door. Yes, it is, I said firmly. And if you come near my house, I'll call the police. I warned you 30 years ago, son. I'm not doing it again. He left without another word, just like he had 3 decades ago. The next day, the courtroom was packed. Every pew filled with neighbors, church members, and reporters. My 3 children sat on one side with their lawyer. Not Kendra this time. She'd had to recuse herself and hire someone else. I sat with Jerome, wearing my best Sunday suit, the one I'd bought for my 70th birthday. Judge Washington, a sister with natural gray hair and kind eyes that missed nothing, reviewed the files. This is one of the most disturbing cases of attempted elder abuse I've seen, she said finally. Children attempting to remove their competent mother from her home for financial gain. Your Honor, their lawyer started. My clients were concerned. Your clients were greedy, Judge Washington cut him off. I've reviewed the evidence. The recordings, the forged documents, the conspiracy to have Ms. Mitchell declared incompetent despite clear evidence of her mental acuity. This conservatorship petition is not only denied, but will be referred to the district attorney for possible criminal charges. The gavel came down hard. In the hallway afterward, Tasha approached me, tears streaming down her face. Mama, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I know, baby. Can you forgive us? I looked at my 3 children, broken, defeated, finally seeing the truth of what they'd become. Forgiveness takes time, but reconciliation? That takes work. Real work. You willing to do that work? Damon nodded. The counseling you mentioned. We'll do it. All of it, Tasha added. Whatever it takes. Kendra said nothing, but she nodded slightly. Then we start next week, I said. Dr. Patricia Summers at the Family Counseling Center. And you'll apologize to my grandbabies for lying to them about me. They agreed. What else could they do? 6 months later, I sat in my garden, picking tomatoes for Sunday dinner. The whole family was coming. Something that hadn't happened in years. Tasha had gotten a second job and was catching up on her bills. Damon had closed his failing business and gone to work for a successful Black-owned company downtown. Kendra and Terrence were in marriage counseling, and he'd joined a gambling addiction program. The doorbell rang. Through the window, I saw all 3 of them standing there with their children. But this time, there were no fake smiles, no hidden agendas, just my children, humbled and trying to make amends. Destiny ran in first, throwing her arms around me. Grandma, I helped Mama make the mac and cheese. Did you now? I hugged her tight. Yeah. And Mama said to tell you she finally learned your recipe right. Only took her 40 years. I laughed, a real laugh from deep in my belly. Better late than never. As my family filled my home with noise and laughter, and probably too much hot sauce on everything, I thought about forgiveness. It doesn't mean forgetting. It doesn't mean trusting the same way again. But it does mean choosing love over bitterness. Choosing to build rather than tear down. My children had tried to trap me, to steal everything I'd worked for. But in the end, they'd only trapped themselves in their own greed. And maybe, just maybe, that was the wake-up call they needed. The house on Magnolia Street still stands strong, still in my name, still filled with tomato plants and collard greens and memories both bitter and sweet. And every Sunday, when my family gathers around my table, I remember that sometimes the greatest inheritance you can leave your children isn't money or property. Sometimes it's teaching them that actions have consequences, that elders deserve respect, and that Mama didn't raise no fools, even when her children tried to play her for one. We appreciate you listening to the end. Hit that subscribe button if you want more stories like this, and tell us in the comments what you think should happen next.